This week, Broadway dancer and legend Anne Reinking passed away at the young age of 71. I wanted to begin by invoking her name because she's someone who I admired deeply. I didn't know her, although I had the incredible privilege to audition for her several times, and certainly I saw her dance. The first time was in the original Broadway production of the Bob Fosse show, Dancin'. I remember thinking, what she's doing is impossible. I also thought to myself watching that show, I want to do that. Anne Reinking was part of an intoxicating generation of dancers in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Ben Vereen, Alvin Ailey, Arthur Mitchell, Gwen Verdon, and of course, Bob Fosse, and so many others. I was hooked, and so I embarked on a career in dance. Although I didn't know her personally, Anne Reinking was both a collaborator, friend, and colleague of some of my dearest friends and people who directly influenced my own dance career as instructors, guides, and raconteurs of stories from back in the day. My heart goes out to them in this time. She's gone much too soon. It's probably no wonder, then, that I've been thinking a lot about dance and movement this week. My own dance career took me into the wellness business, which, in turn, led me directly to ministry. Dance and ministry are powerfully connected for me and often still influence each other in my personal theologies. One of those theologies is what I want to briefly share with you today. It is simple. Balance is never still. As a student of biomechanics and injury prevention and recovery, I looked closely at the way human joints work and how they work with the vestibular system, our sense of balance. And it was just so simple to me. Balance is never still. Without getting into the physics of it, balance, indeed any stillness, requires opposing forces. A cup isn't just sitting on a table. Gravity is pulling the cup down, and the table is resisting, pushing the cup up, so that it doesn't just crush the table. But the human physical balance thing is more complex than that. Our muscle fibers are always firing. They are not ever still, even when we think we are. Our systems are in constant motion, with liquid and fibers sloshing back and forth, seeking the path of least resistance. Even when we are stock still, we are a symphony of movement. When I was a dance-based personal trainer, I used to train my clients extensively in balance. So many of them would start off by trying to hold a balance. They would clench their teeth and grip their fists and hold on and fall over. What I tried to teach them was to let the balance be more like breath, that is steady and calm. I told them that there's no way to stop the motion of being alive, so their job to find balance was to let the balance come to them, to feel for it, and recognize the subtlety of motion within balance. Part of my learning came from working with several clients who had neurological disorders, disabilities, or other ailments. I learned from them the value of letting every individual find the balance that works for them. I also learned the importance of falling down without judgment. One person's equilibrium is another's imbalance. It's all relative. This approach helped many of my clients, particularly elders, avoid injury or serious joint damage, and helped others manage and recover from other issues. Their bodies became more supple. Their heart rates and blood pressure lowered. They were healthier all around. They became more forgiving of themselves, and their bodies became places of joy as opposed to judgment. Today in ministry, I like to look at this as a theology. I found in my own experience that when I have tried to hold the balance or grip some aspect of my life, whatever I was doing becomes brittle and breaks. I find that if I cling too firmly to a program or agenda, when something inevitably changes, I'm thrown for a loop and inevitably I'm hurt. I see so many people so often trying to find balance in life. Work-life balance, family self-balance, fun productivity balance, etc. And I also see so many people trying to cling to a way of being that doesn't want to be, that isn't organic to who they are. What good does it do to force balance? It creates frustration and anxiety and even grief. I wonder if there's maybe a little bit of the personal training approach that can help. So, here are a few training tips for life balance. 1. Set directions, not goals. I was often approached by people who wanted to transform their bodies. People either wanted to lose weight, or they wanted to have bigger arms, or more defined abs, whatever. I always leveled with them at the beginning and told them that I wasn't that kind of trainer. Even when I was training clients for government fitness tests or modeling careers, I was clear that we were going in a direction toward having their body become as fit and capable as it could be. We were headed somewhere together, and the journey that includes health and peace was going to be a big part of it. What if that was the approach to life balance? Is there something to recognizing the value of the journey before getting to the pot of gold at the end? Second tip, forgiveness. I was insistent that people didn't beat themselves up, either in my sessions or in between when they were working out on their own. Forgiveness was one way of showing that you care about yourself. I'm convinced that it's the same with life balance. We're always having to find new ways to forgive ourselves. Some do it through faith, others find it in their ethical grounding. Regardless, punishment is rarely productive. Third tip, celebrate success. My clients were always a little suspicious of how thrilled I was with moderate progress. But why not? This goes directly back to the idea of setting a direction as opposed to a goal. There's always a reason to celebrate something. I also know that many of us don't spend enough time doing this in our day-to-day lives. The moments and times to celebrate are there, even if fleeting. We have to be better attuned to them. Fourth and final tip for now, don't compare. What represents balance for you will not be balance for someone else. No amount of training will give you someone else's body or their capabilities. Likewise, you could have the same education and opportunities as someone else, and your life is going to be different from theirs. What balance means for you will be different. There is no comparison that will ever be fair when it comes to measuring one life against another. Being a dancer was a joy for me. Being a trainer was a joy for me. In both those pursuits, I took what I did and loved and translated it into something I could gift to other people. Ministry feels like a continuation. To me, having the opportunity to share insight that I've learned from creating shape and movement with my body is an awesome blessing. I'm grateful for it every day. But it's not just the physical aspects of embodiment. More importantly, my hope for you is that there's a dialogue or exchange you're able to open up with your own body as a physical manifestation and a guide to your life, to your relationships, to your world. It's an exchange that invites you into places of balance, equilibrium, that are never static or stationary. Your world is always pushing and pulling, and always seeking its own center, its own place of balance. What always impressed me with Anne Reinking's dancing was the depth of ease that came from her body. There was a strength and fluidity and a kind of knowing that projected no limitations but always said that this was her unique body language. You could always pick her out of a lineup of dancers. Of course, I knew I would never be Anne Reinking, but her dancing made me want to be the best me I could be. That's how I hope you can be in balance in your life. Don't grip or clench or grasp at some kind of balance that isn't yours. Instead, try to meet your life and life balance with openness, to allow it to be everything it needs to be without judgment. You can be a virtuoso of your own life dance. May it be so.